How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Talk About Transformers. Today we're going to be taking a look at the second leader class figure in this first wave of Legacy, that being the Laser Optimus Prime figure, aka G2 Optimus Prime. Before we look at the figure himself, let's go ahead and take a look at our box. So we'll go ahead and plop it down and we will angle up so that way we have room to look. Top of the box, Transformers Legacy. Front of the box here, you've got Takara Tomy Generations. You've got an artwork image of Optimus in his robot mode firing missiles that do not fire in the toy. There you've got it going down him. There's his truck and that nice neon light effect that these boxes have. You've got his name on this side, Laser Optimus Prime. You've got Transformers logo. You have Transformers Legacy. He is a leader class in several languages. He is also a Hasbro product and he is for ages 8 up. For the bottom of the box, you've got your barcode. You've got little words and recyclable images and whatnot. For this side of the box, you have your Autobot artwork there. For the other side of the box, you have a close-up of Prime's face, and then a pulled back image usually goes down here, but on the leader boxes, you've got his alt mode face. Then for the back of the box, you have your product shots. You have his name up here at the top. There's Transformers on the other side. The back of the box is taller than the front of the box. Hold on a second, guys. I gotcha. Go ahead and gracefully raise up there. You got Transformers More Than Meets the Eye. There's his name. There's the robot mode with his weapons. There is the base opened up, repairing the truck or placing the shield on the truck or something like that, or axe, I should say. He comes with a shield and a sword or a gun so often that axe, it just makes me think of a shield. Now you have his completed alt mode. You can go from one to the other in 30 steps. You have a list of things that he comes with. You have a QR code and some text specs. And then you've just got some words there and some more words there and Hasbro there. And that's it for the packaging. I think I hit a case of water with that. And with that out of the way, we'll go ahead and angle forward and rotate down a little bit. And we'll take a look at Optimus Prime here in his truck mode. Since we rolled him through already, we'll bump in the mic here. Let's back you up a touch, buddy. We'll go ahead and go over the articulation for him. You've got a 10 sets, or 5 sets, 10 total wheels that roll. They all roll together pretty good. With this version of Prime, you can basically turn the truck cab 90 degrees if you want to, which is a nice range of turning. I did put this on the Kingdom / Earthrise Voyager / Leader Prime mold, and because of the way it transforms, the gap here isn't quite as big, so you don't get as much turn. But you could do that if you wanted, because this trailer is better than the one he came with anyway. And that's basically it for vehicle articulation. The trailer can stand on its own, but I'll do that more when we go over accessories, which we'll cover the trailer in. And for now, we'll just go ahead and take a look at the details up close, starting here with the cab. Question. This is G2 Prime, right? And the G1 people love the G2 Prime. Why is Bayverse Prime getting so much flack for, one, being a long-nosed truck, and two, having flames? Because this deco is accurate to the original figure, as far as I'm led to believe. It's just a question. I'm not trying to start a war. Don't hate each other in the comments, but why does he get flack when Generation 2 Optimus Prime did it a long time ago? Just a question. But you've got black hood with red flame decal. You've got gray for those headlights with a little bit of yellow picked out. You have the silver on the grille there. You have these clear blue windows that almost make the red inside look purple, and that's a nice kind of effect there going on. But you've got the blue windows with the gray paint on the top. The color matching on this is pretty good. It's not a whole lot to complain about. You've got the side panel there with the Autobot logo with the red step in red because the part is painted gray. You have smokestacks with little heat shields molded on with all the little dots there. You've got his arms hanging out in the back, but maybe it's a sleeper cab, maybe it's a cool air conditioning unit the guy soldered into his truck. I don't know. You could make something up. You've got some gas tanks there. You've got the wheels, and then coming onto the trailer, you've got a very reflective gray surface here with a couple of blast ports. You have nice, it's kind of a silvery gray plastic, like it's got those little wavies in it and stuff. Going down the side, you've got one big old long red pipe that goes all the way down, then the back wheels here, and then on the back of the truck you've got some details, none of it painted, for the back of the trailer. Come undone. Go ahead and put him back together. I tried to do a full rotation without him coming apart. It's just a peg, and the peg is split, or I should say the board is split when the legs split, so it's not the strongest connection, but it's not super loose either. It takes a minute to fall out of there if you plug it in all the way. This side is basically the same as the other side, and here he is from the top. You've got some details on the top. Like people would probably, if this is like a gas tank, people probably would open these top hatches to get down in there and like clean it out if it was switching to a different kind of liquid that it's carrying or something like that. And then going down, you've got a lonely little port there on the roof and some like horns. Is that, you know, for horns? I imagine it's for horns. They're like little trumpets on the top. And from the bottom, spoilers, you can store his sword on the bottom, and as you saw from that back image, you can store the axe folded up on the bed, the flatbed area, if you don't have the trailer on. Instead of plugging it in, you can just store the axe there on the trailer hitch area. But you've got a black panel here, which I have transformed incorrectly. Again, I keep doing this. One moment, please. Alrighty, so as it turns out, I'm a crazy person. It doesn't matter which way you have it, and I liked it better the way I had it. So, instead of changing it, it's exactly the same as it was before I paused the feed. And then you've got his sword, you've got his robot legs and waist chilling out under there, and then you've got the big old jet boosters on his shoulders. That do stuff in robot mode a little bit, but I mean, in the original show, he did kind of like launch off the ground and the trailer disappeared, so this is kind of a fun way that this truck would actually achieve that if it followed the same scheme. The jets are just right there in the shoulders, so, you know, that's kind of neat, and that's kind of it for the truck. We'll go ahead and stand this up real quick, and we'll take a look at the bed. Here is the bed of the truck. It is very much Earthrise Prime with remolded shins back here, and then you've got two little tabs or slots right here to the right of my thumb, and that's where the shield would plug in, but it's chilling out in here for now. And then there you've got the feet, same feet as the Earthrise Prime. It might even be the same feet as Siege, I can't remember. I never had that figure, and it's been a while since I've watched a comparison video. So go ahead and let me know if they remolded the feet or not between Siege and Earthrise/Kingdom. And that's it for his vehicle mode. And what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and take him and set him off to the side and go into the trailer. We're going to do the trailer all at once and discuss it, and then I'll fold it back up and do some size comparisons, or no, you know what, I'll just leave it unfolded and move it somewhere, because for size comparisons I'm basically just going to do the cab because I don't really need the trailer on there. So for the trailer, one thing you can articulate is this stand here. So if you want the trailer to be separated from Prime and not transformed into like a battle deck, you can do that with it. Other than that, you'll leave that extended. Let me go ahead and angle back up because the trailer is a little tall. I'll go ahead and leave that extended. We're going to pop it up. You've got a big old slot and a big old tab on each side. We'll go ahead and rotate it all the way up, and then using our ball joint here, we'll spin it around 180 degrees and then leave it like that. And then since this thing is going to flatten out real quick, we'll go ahead and rotate it back down. We are going to go ahead and split the sides here. You've got a post here that goes into this port here, and then this notch here lines up with this area here. But we'll go ahead and open up both sides, and yes, I have spoilers or weapons in here that don't belong. We'll go over that in a little bit. This is the part I said I mistransformed. You can either fold it up and then rest it against there. I thought maybe it tabbed in somehow, but I was wrong. I don't know what I was thinking. Or you can fold it up first and have this kind of holding it in, which is what I prefer. So we'll go ahead and fold all of that down and set her on the ground there. And we'll go ahead and rotate down so that we're at the same level. Back up time. Push it back, rotate up a little bit, and find the space I want. And then when we have it where we want it, we can go ahead and angle up to show this part of the transformation. We're going to go ahead and bring this down on a hinge in, and then go ahead and angle back down now that we're short again. And then I just kind of tuck this in here so it rests in there. There's no locking mechanism for it, and then you can do whatever you want with the robot arm. I'm just going to thoop it up and have it at an angle like so. And then you take this little turret, fold it back, and there you go. Oh, slapping the mic again. This poor mic. Everything in my recording area gets abused by my hands slapping it. And there you basically go for his trailer's little battle station. I was gonna call it base mode, but it's not really base mode. Before I get into the details of it itself, I'm just gonna kind of go over. I have RC's weapons stuck here, just so that way they can store without hanging off the vehicle if I have them going in like a squad. I want to say I mentioned it once or twice. So what I've done is I've taken one half of the disc, plugged it into the other half of the disc, and then taken the plug on that and put it in this port here. It's going to be the second port from the left, and then just kind of angled them down like that so they don't run into this when it folds up. And we're just going to remove those for the time being because they're not part of this figure. And then rolling on down here, I've put Skid's weapons in here. They're in the same configuration they were in with Rocket Hammer. I've just nearly rotated the guns around, and then I've taken this little black post and put it in the rightmost hole, and then just kind of angled it in so that way it'll all fit when it shuts. Up here where this little lip is where the gray middle is going to come in when it plugs in, so you just keep the gun below that, then kind of angle the Mohawk axe of death down so it's not going to run into anything in the middle, or RC's guns on the other side. And that's how you can store your other Autobots weapons in here if you so desire. And it's one of the reasons why the sword is stored in Optimus Prime's truck mode. But we'll get those out of there. And then I'm going to grab his sword off of his primeness real quick so we can see the storage options. Oh, I dropped it. Of course I dropped it. Bumped the camera getting it. We're checking all the boxes today, folks. So you can see your storage options. They can go on either side, but you've got a tab slot here and a tab slot here. That a tab on each side of the sword hilt will plug into. So your sword can store in your trailer if you just want Prime's weapons in there and don't want them on the truck. And then you've got this eye tab here, this eye looking tab, and that's where the shield plugs in. And like I said, you can do it on either side, so you've got two tabs here, and they plug into that eye-shaped tab. And then that is your weapon storage for the trailer, and then you just transform it back and close it up. If you want to store them on Prime in vehicle mode, the sword goes underneath, as I already showed, but how that plugs in is you've got two slots on the bottom and the same tabs on the hilt. Plug into those, and then the aforementioned slots on the trailer hitch section, you guessed it, these two tabs are going to go in there, and it almost helps the legs stay together a little bit. Unfortunately, when you've got that there, the trailer can't plug in. One, it creates a clearance issue with the hole being partially cut off, and two, it creates a clearance issue in a vertical sense also. So we'll go ahead and remove that and go ahead and slap it back on the battle station here, and we'll just that's pretty much it for the weapons. As far as the battle station goes, this whole middle section can rotate, and you can also unplug it if you want. There is a port on the bottom and a peg in there, so you can unpeg it if you want to. And then this gun at the top rotates individually of the middle, and it can also come off. It's on a little peg with a little port up there, so you can take this gun off and like plug it into his arm, or have him hold it as like a dual pistol, or whatever you want to do. You know, interactivity, that's the name of the game. And so I think that this just becomes more of a fun base than the Earthrise one did. The weapons store in here really well. Instead of just having a bunch of posts on the side like the Earthrise one did, where you could just kind of put the gun in there, these actually have designated just for his weapons spots, plus ports that you can finagle stuff into. Some of them get covered up when it's in trailer mode, and that's fine. If you really wanted to, when you fold this up, if you lock it in behind here like I do, there's a big old hollow space down here that you could literally just shove weapons into if you wanted. And that's about it for this. I'm going to go ahead and put it off to the side, and we'll take a look at some size comparisons, and then we'll go ahead and bring it back after we've got him transformed up so we can see what he looks like next to that. Alrighty, starting off our vehicle size comparisons, here we have him with the Core Class Starscream figure. Here we have it with our Legends-ish scale Thundercracker figure, or not Thundercracker, Skywarp, dang it. Here we have it with his wave mate and buddy, old pal Skids, for your deluxe class comparison. Here he is with the Voyager class Legacy 1 bulkhead figure. My brain shorted out there for a second and I couldn't figure out what order to say that in, but there you have your Voyager class comparison. And last but not least, for your leader class comparison, as always, here he is with the Studio Series 86 leader class Grimlock. Alrighty, and that's it for the vehicle mode, so we'll go ahead and transform the main figure here. The first thing I'm going to do is come under and close up the gas tanks. Now mine has a defect. This little tab nubbin here is how I pulled them back out. And if you noticed, I've got one nubbin up here and one nubbin down here. I ended up with two of these pieces. And so this is this piece, but in upside down. So I should have gotten two. And you can see here, this is nice and kind of straight and matches that. And then this one's got kind of that weird angled gap and it angles out at the bottom. Yeah, I got a QC Gremlin attack here, but it's minor and it still transforms, so I am not gonna be very upset with that. So we'll go ahead and fold those in. We'll come down and open up the feet as you want to do on Prime. These days, we'll come to these panels and using the step, we'll just flex them out a little bit. There is a tiny tiny tab there that goes into the tiny slot there. And then once we have that done, we can take the legs and move them down. You've got these little grooves here that sit on the tabs on the kneecaps that are folded over. Fold the legs down, fold the kneecaps down, Earthrise Optimus style, and your legs are basically done. Let's go ahead and angle up here because he is getting a little tall. We'll go ahead and pull the arms up. There's a little tab on the arms that goes into this little notch in there. So go ahead and rotate those up, and then we're going to take the entire cab roof and rotate it up, and that's going to let us rotate his arms around a full 360, so that way you can see the mushroom pegs. Then we can open the arm up and fold the hand out. You can do this after you have him in robot mode, but I like to do at least the arm rotation now because it helps fold these out a little more smoothly, and I'm used to just folding his hands out now when I do that. So if you want to wait on the hands until excuse me, you get him closer to home, you can do it. And then you've got kind of a molded in thumb there, and this is the top of the forearm, so you want the hand rotated up. At this point in time, we're going to take the waist section that includes these flaps and we're going to rotate it back. And then you want to make sure that these flaps stoop out at a perpendicular angle to the legs. And that's very important for the steps coming up. We are going to, and again, he is getting tall with these shoulders. We are going to split open the front cab and rotate that off to the side. Then you're going to want to take this center section and push it down through. And then coming to the side, we'll lift this up so we can see. We're going to continue to rotate this forward, then fold this. It pops off. It does happen. It's just friction hinged in there. So we're going to take that, rotate it forward, and we're going to snap it into place. Nice loud snap there. And with that out of the way, it frees up these joints so we can rotate the arms forward this far. And then once our arms are rotated forward, I'm going to take this entire assembly and rotate it back. Then fold these up the rest of the way. And there is a tab-like section there on the back of it, right in front of my thumb, and it's going to go into that groove. So we'll fold them up and then rotate this back forward, tab that section in. We're going to rotate the chest down. You've got two tabs that hold that little slot that held it in vehicle mode, going into two slots in the blue part of his chest. Tab that in place. We'll rotate his waist around 180 degrees, and then we can continue to fold his arms in to the body. I'm not 100% sure how these click in. I want to say there's a little nubbin right up here that is going to click up under this torso area, which is the click you hear, but that's the only thing I can think that is. And then his arms, if you didn't rotate them or fold the hands out when I did, because you just don't want to do it that way, then you'd rotate his arms now and pull his hands out now. Flipping up here to the cab roof, we're going to get in here and just kind of start that with a nail or something and fold it forward. We're going to take the head panel. You've got two tabs here. They're going to slot into gaps down there. Peg that into place. Then we can fold this back up like it was in vehicle mode. And there you have a backpack all done. As far as the shoulder pads go, I like to move these forward so I can see what I'm doing. And they're going to unthoop, come down, and the hinge is going to sit in this groove all nice like, and then rotate these back down. So same thing, unthoop, rotate it so the hinge sits, and fold it back down. On these sections there is a tiny little gray tab there that rests in that notch, but that notch by no means stops it. You can throw it right past it and have him sitting back at an angle if you want, but this is how I have it, and then split his legs, and we are done with the transformation. We'll go ahead and get him centered in the camera better, and we'll take a look at some articulation and details and whatnot, and then move on from there. Alrighty, there we have our Optimus Prime properly framed. We'll go ahead and zoom in, take a look at the details here. There is his chest. Go ahead and raise it up so we can see his face. And starting up at the top, his head is molded in blue, as it usually is. His eyes are not painted, they're just clear plastic with some silver on the crest and the faceplate, but I don't see any light piping, so I'm not sure why his eyes, I mean, they might be painted, but if they are, they don't look to be painted. At least not in any kind of a, well, actually, this one looks unpainted. This one looks like it might be painted like a gray blue. It doesn't stand out either way. It looks dead. Then you've got that silver paint on his shoulders with the rockets, booster, thruster things. You've got yellow here on the shoulders. It migrated up from his waist, apparently. You've got a silver chest with a blue grilled section. And you can see the matrix hanging out in there. We'll go over that later. And then you've got gray paint here so that it color matches to the waist area. The middle of the waist is painted and the hip assemblies are not. The arms are red with blue painted hands. Coming down the legs, nothing else is really painted. At this point forward, at least obviously painted anyway, you've got straight gray hips, thighs, straight dark gray legs, like a coal charcoal gray. And then you've got blue feet that might be painted, but they might be molded. It's hard to tell with the plastic color. It looks like, yes, I want to say it's painted. There's some chips on the edge of the toes. So yeah, instead of molding that in a blue plastic, they went ahead and painted his whole front toes for some reason. And then from the side, the only paint you get is the silver wheels, which I forgot to mention in vehicle mode, and then the vehicle mode smokestacks and flames and stuff. Then on the back, it's just the front of the truck opened up with all of this. This stuff has been remolded from the Earthrise Prime, because you've got the tabs for sword storage in vehicle mode, and you've got a bunch of ports, and it doesn't look like a Frankenstein version of the Siege mold anymore. It's just like a solid piece. I hear people in the next room clamoring about. I don't know if it's going to come across on camera. As far as articulation goes, his head can run a full 360. It can go back slightly, forward a decent amount actually, and then there isn't really any tilt because of how wide his head is. As far as the shoulders go, this whole thing doesn't move. You have to lift these flaps up to get your forward movement. They only go out that far. There is a cutout on the side to allow straight up outwards movement, and so you can't have them out at like an angle and be all the way out at the same time. And then you've got almost 90 degrees backwards movement, so the shoulders are a little wonky, but Optimus Prime just stands there looking heroic or pointing his gun. So what are you going to do? I'll go ahead and move this back out of the way so you can see the bicep swivel is a little complicated because it's built into the transformation, and it does shift the position of the arm. So now you've got a obvious cut shift there, but if you just use it for a little bit of motion like you would with your average bicep swivel, then you're not going to have too many issues there. You can rotate the elbow at 90 degrees, and as showcased in the transformation. The wrists do rotate a full 360 there for your arms. For the waist, we had to turn it for the transformation, but we'll do it again. You'll have a 360 at the waist. The legs can go out this far, so he can do the full splits. They can go forward and back reasonably far. Forward is basically all the way back. The molding gets hung up on itself, and so he can only go back that far, but not bad for backwards motion. And then you have a separate cut for your thigh swivel that can go all the way. You have your knee bend that gets you over 90 degrees, and you've got some nice molded detail in there. And then as far as your feet go, due to transformation, you have toe bend down and heel bend down, not in that order. And you have a ankle tilt that goes a decent amount, a pretty good amount actually. Not 90, but good. And that about does it for articulation. So we'll get him back in proper orientation here, and we will go over his main weapons and station. And to do that, we're going to zoom out, and we'll bring that big old box back in and just set it down and put him behind it and rotate down. So there you have it. He can kind of use the gun, you know, just position his hands and pretend it's a toy. Usually what I'll do is, if I have my whole Wave 1 Autobot squad out and about, RC will man the gun because she doesn't have her own gun. And Optimus will have his dual wielding bladed weapons and his shoulder gimmick, and then Skids will have his rocket, axe, or guns, depending on what I feel like. But so you can take the sword and the axe off of the base here, and we'll slide it off to the side. I haven't found any way to store them on the robot effectively, because the sword doesn't really tab in. There's a little notch down here on the bottom with a blast effect peg, and that prevents you from plugging them in this way to like a normal hole. And I don't really see any pegs anywhere on him that you could effectively plug this little tab or peg into for like a side hilt storage or anything. And then the axe, in order to do the axe, we'll just mini transformation it open. You just fold it open, and it's got a port on this side and some holes that oddly enough aren't the same size as the blast effect holes, because they do not compute. The round peg is bigger than the square hole, so I'm not sure why they would do that. But you can take his sword with the blast effect peg and the peg facing out, and you can plug it into the axe, so you can give him a big long super sword that I never use. But since I'm talking about the weapons, we'll show off real quick and then separate it for all time. And the weapons themselves are molded in clear blue plastic, except for the handle on the axe, and he can hold them. For the axe, I like to have the tabs facing out because it hinges outward, so I just think it looks more cohesive with the hinge on the inside facing towards his body. So we'll have him hold that in this hand. You can have it right up against the handles, or if you want to, or yeah, the handles, the pegs, or if you want to, you can have his hand down towards the end.
I win.
I was invaded by family people. Alrighty, back to the weapons. For the sword, you have to plug it in, so that way this little tab is out, because it's going to slide through that gap in his fingers. And you can leave it that way, but I like to rotate it around so that all the this, I thought this was a peg hole. In theory it is, but it's very loose and doesn't hold on to anything, so now I just consider it part of waffling. Plus the tabs for storage, I like to have them on the inside. And there you have him with his weapons, real quick, we're going to go off on an axe tangent here. I was trying to find a way, while this was folded up, for it to plug into the port back here. And the tabs don't fit into it. It doesn't have a plug on it. Eventually I found out you can take these tabs here and you can stick one in this slot for the ball joint on his wrist. It is a ball joint for transformation purposes, but you can't really access anything but the rotation and robot mode. And I found that you can kind of do that with it if you want, but it's on the back of his forearm, so you got to have his arm at a weird angle to use it. And I was like, man, I really wish I could plug this in as a shield. And then I decided one day to plug it in as an axe and then spin it around and just fold it down. Oh my goodness, now it's a shield. So if you really want to excuse me, if you really want to have a sword and shield, you could do that. So there he has a sword and a shield. As far as other weaponry, he does have fold out panels on his shoulders. You just unpeg them and rotate them up. Oh wow, we cannot see up there. Rotate them up. We'll go ahead and show that again on this side. There is, focus on the other shoulder. We'll rotate you out real quick. There is a gap here that you can get into and fold up. We'll put that back into place. And it reveals some clear blue missiles molded in. They can't come out or anything. So the box art lied to you, but they do exist. And it's all about pretend, because even though these are really hitting the right boxes with adult collectors, at the end of the day, they have to make it so that kids want to buy them too, because these are for children also. Not baby time for small children like some of the lines, but these lines are for your 8+s like the box said. So, and obviously I've been playing with Transformers for a lot longer than 8+, so you're gonna have some kids that never grow out of them like us fine folk, who are gonna want to play with stuff that's not a one-step changer. But you've got missiles, you've got sword and axe / shield, and that's about it for the weaponry that he can use, apart from if you wanted to take the gun off of this and you could plug it into his hand. You could plug it into the underside of his forearm. So we'll just show that off because I'm not taking his weapons out of his hand right now. You could plug that in and he can have a little double barrel blaster on the go if you were playing with your toys. And he had this and it got shot to hell and it was lying in pieces on the ground. He could walk over Halo style and rip this thing off of it and then hold it and start shooting it. So yeah, lots of fun play factor there. And that about covers all the accessories. I'll clean up the disaster I have created and we'll go ahead and take a look at some size comparisons. Alrighty, and starting off our size comparisons, there you have him with the Core Class Bumblebee Movie Shockwave figure. There you have him with the Legend Scale New Age Optimus Prime, aka Prime Jr. Also a scale or a comparison with his G1 design at the same time. Here he is with the Voyager Class Studio Series 86 Hot Rod that is deluxe sized for your deluxe scale. Bump the camera. Here he is with the Kingdom Voyager Class Cyclonus for your Voyager scale. I've said it a few times, Cyclonus is a decently tall Voyager class. He's on the higher side, and Prime is right up there with him. So he is not a short Voyager by any means. And last but not least, here you have him with the Leader Class Studio Series 86 Slag figure. So he's a pretty decent sized Voyager. We'll go over why I'm bringing that up in my final thoughts here in a minute. That's it for your size comparisons, guys. Alrighty guys, real quick before our final thoughts, there is an accessory I forgot to show off. We are going to take the silver part of his chest and pop it open. It is separate from the rest of the hinge that folds it in and around, and you have a matrix in here. I've never tried to take this out, but I'm assuming it can come out. It's not just painted in. No, it's moving. Come on. Come on. There you go. Disrespectful. But he does have the same matrix of leadership that a lot of them have come with. We'll go ahead and zoom you in real quick. It is the same mold. It is molded in the transparent blue, I believe the windows are, and then you've got the orangey paint and the silvery paint, and you've got the big old empty gap on the back because it can plug into things like Galvatron's necklace. I mentioned in his review that his matrix was my favorite paint job, so maybe because I'm never going to use it as a necklace, I'll take it and put it in this Prime or my Earthrise Prime. Technically I think I have the Netflix Prime. Either way, put it in one of them. But yes, he does indeed do have a matrix of leadership. And that is it for accessories. Now we'll move on to the final thoughts. Alrighty guys, after that little matrix mix-up, here we are at the final thoughts. Starting with the negatives, I have one very minor negative, and that's it. The rest of it's positive. As for that negative, it's that there's not robot storage for the weapons. There is robot mode storage in the form of leaving them in the tanker or having the tanker open into a battle platform and having them on there, but there isn't storage that I've found that's effective for them on the robot itself, other than being wielded. That being said, I have no other complaints about this guy. As far as the core robot, he is a large, substantial Voyager class figure. He has a matrix, he has shoulder rockets, he comes with a sword and shield that can integrate into the vehicle mode without needing to use the trailer. All of that is what I'm considered to be included in his $30 Voyager price point that he was made of. He recycles some parts, but it's literally the hips and thighs and maybe the middle of the waist and the feet. Other than that, the lower legs are new. The flaps on the knees might be the same molded component. The legs are new, wheels notwithstanding. The wheels are probably the same as somebody's wheels. Almost all of them are these days. But the shins are new, the arms are new, the torso is completely new, the head is new, the weapons are new. So almost everything's new. The Matrix is a reused mold, but that's to be expected, and it's actually going to help with the playability, because like I said, I can put that Galvatron Matrix in one of my primes and it'll look really good because it's got that nice Energani blue, Cybertron blue paint on it. But yeah, so this is really great for like a $30 figure. It's even worth more than a standard $30 figure in my opinion. And then the difference between him and a $50 roughly figure is a $20 price point, which I think this plus some of the, you know, how awesome this is, plus this and everything it does, is definitely worth $20 to me, more than the Earthrise trailer was worth $20 to me. I was originally going to go, I don't want it on most of the Legacy line, and I've got everyone but the core class and the kickback. And I love all of the stuff that came with this. I love how it works. I have no gripes, except for the weapons storage in robot mode. Even the way his wonky shoulders work that upsets people isn't really great for me. Like I said, most of the time when I have him out, he is going to do poses that those shoulders can accommodate. Like right now, he's just kind of standing almost like a battle ready pose, but like a relaxed, so he's just kind of chilling with his weapons. If you wanted to, you could put the sword in to his hand backwards maybe and just kind of have him holding it at his side with the shield at the relaxed position. It's what you want. The transformation's fun, the trailer's fun, it's just a lot of fun. If you were going to pass this guy up because you didn't think it was worth $50, because you don't want the trailer and you'd rather just have a $30 version that was just the cab, respect. I did the same thing with Earthrise. I got the Netflix version of Prime for $40 and it came with 2 Battle Masters. So $30 for Prime, $10 pack of Battle Masters, because that's what they cost, and they come in packs of 2. And it was basically $30 plus some Battle Masters, which I didn't have any of, so I was grateful to have some, especially that axe. I love that pterodactyl axe. Anyway, so if you want to wait for just the core robot to come out with, you know, at like a $30-$35 price point, go for it. But if you have any interest in the trailer or the set as a whole, it's definitely worth it. I think Galvatron's my favorite leader out of the two of them, because I play with it more and I like it, and I made that little gun mode out of it, but it's not a vast distance between them in the slightest. It just, they're both equally good. I just happen to play with that one more. It might even be the colors, because I am extremely biased towards purple and orange. If this Prime was purple and orange, he might be my favorite. That's gonna be about it though, guys. So thanks for tuning in to my video and listening to my ramblings, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Talk About Transformers.